Welcome to another fantastic episode of Muscle Spasms, where we talk about the science of fitness, but we have a little fun with it. I am Mara Marek, your host, personal trainer, Arezan's best friend, and this is Arezan, host
of best friend.
I'm his best friend. He's not mine? Other way around?
Yeah.
And with us, we have the dunk master of the world. We have been obsessed with him forever, as long as we've known each other. Right? Yeah, we watch his videos every day. Let's give it up for Jordan Kilganon. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so how long have you been playing basketball?
So yeah, with basketball, it started literally when I was born. I was actually named after Michael Jordan. My dad was a big basketball fan, and I just kept kind of playing when I was a kid, all through high school. Then after high school is kind of when I stopped and just focused on only dunking.
That's it. Just dunking. So when did you get into dunks? Like, how did you know that you could jump, that you had hops?
That was something I trained to have for a very long time. So it's not like it just kind of happened out of nowhere. A lot of people I compete against are like that, where they're just kind of genetically freaks, like they're really talented naturally. But I had to train for a very, very long time. So it was a very progressive thing. When I got to the end of high school, I could do one and two handers. But then, I had been training for a long time before that. My dad being a personal trainer too, helped me out a lot. And then after that, I kind of just took things into my own hands and treated dunking like as if it was an Olympic sport. And here we are. So
you didn't have the natural talent and you had to train, but you just kept coming. This is like a Coach Carter movie where you're like, you just show up, you say one of those what you're not afraid of moments. How did you show up every single day with was it just ignorance or what? You were just like, I'm going to do this like forever and ever. This is what I want. How did you have that drive?
Well, I was fortunate with a few things, right? So my luck wasn't necessarily my genetic talent, but it was more so who my parents were, and also what I naturally had a big drive for dunking, even though I wasn't like good at it to start off with, relatively speaking. And then I was just like super obsessed with it. I used to dunk for every day for 3-4 hours a day on average. So sometimes 9 hours in a day sometimes. But again, this was on like 8-foot hoops, 9-foot hoops, or 7-foot hoops, just making my way up like over time. But then my dad, again, he's a lot more than a personal trainer. He's like such an amazing like motivational speaker. Like he's basically become like the father of like so many of his clients, you know what I mean? Like he's changed people's lives, and I had that as an actual father, which is like unbelievable. And not just from that side, but also from my mom and stepdad's side. They for them, it's more on like the education side. They are just like relentless when it comes to business or education or anything like that. And they were just an amazing example for one, like for more like the mental kind of stuff when it comes to education or business. And then I had my dad, which is more like physical, but also mental, of course, starts from mental. But I was very fortunate to have that set up along with how much passion I had for it already.
Do you have like a social life? Are you
slightly more now, I guess. Like I have just selective friends, I guess, especially when I first went for dunking. I'd see somebody I haven't seen in a long time and be like, oh, I'm so busy, I have no time for a social life. And I'd be like, what's the point of a social life? I was just too busy, I made myself busy, and I just kind of didn't talk to you for a long time, and which is fine. I'm okay with people going through that phase. I think it's really important to develop all that confidence when you, because you learn a lot of skills too when you just zone in on one thing for a long period of time. You master something, right? You learn a lot of cool things. And
very Goggins.
Now, pardon?
It's very Goggins-esque.
Yeah, exactly. Now, do I agree with having that kind of mindset forever? Maybe not. It depends what your goals are, really. But now my goals are more like learning more and more skills to enjoy life the best that I can, and to eventually pass those on to other people as well. So I have a bit more of a social life, a little bit, so it's my certain friends I select and stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah, I had a roommate that made me go out every Thursday to be social.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, you at 5 o'clock, you are done and you have to be social. And I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. How are
That's
you?
it.
What do you like to do as far as hobbies go?
Um, for me, the past little bit has been a lot of personal development kind of books. I do a lot of reading, and
Series.
a lot of kind of spirituality stuff is what I've been into. So for some reason, I've been huge just recently into learning about all the religions. So I've been reading a lot about Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, the Bible, uh, the Quran, and all this kind of stuff. And just because I like to know what makes people tick. I don't know why. It's fascinating to me. Like, what is the person's like purpose in life? And kind of religion kind of approaches some of those issues. And I don't know. I just find it fascinating.
Do you ever apply it to yourself? Like because it seems like you're like trying to study other people and other people's patterns. Do you ever look at your own patterns in that then maybe?
No, 100%. It's part of it's all part of the same thing. When you discover yourself, you're also discovering other people as well. At least I
Mhm.
think. But if part of my goal, like part of what makes me feel good is helping other people, um, I can't always assume that I know what it's like to be another person. So if I can learn a bit about that, because this was part of my advantage growing up, is that I didn't learn well like in school, right? Like I
Mhm.
wasn't I wouldn't get good grades. Meanwhile, now I know the way that I learn now. I learn better if I put the speed of like audiobooks at like 1.5 times the speed while doing chores. You know what I mean? But put me in a classroom where people are speaking in normal speed, I'm gonna miss it all.
You're zoning out.
So yeah, I'm zoning
Yeah.
out. So for me to fully realize that from that learning experience that people learn in different ways, right? And so how is it that I can teach people in ways that can be clear to multiple people, right?
Mhm.
Again, at the moment, I'm kind of like a bit. I'm not well. You could say I'm lost. I don't feel lost, but I'm at a place where I don't know where I'm going, but it's very exciting, because I'm
Mhm.
I'm at the end of dunking, and sorry, I'm talking a bunch now,
No,
but
no, that's good.
um, but the whole point of dunking was so I can use it as an authority to have a good influence on people. But now I'm getting at the end of it, I'm just like, okay, well, what am I going to say now? What kind of messaging am I going to deliver? So that's what I'm trying to get on now.
Yeah, because you do have a lot of exposure and you have a lot of people that look up to you. So you're like, what do I do with all of this power? And you can do great or you can do evil. So I guess, or you can do nothing. And
100%.
I guess that's evil also.
That depends on your perspective. But
Have you ever
yeah,
done
no.
Reiki?
I've not done Reiki. No, I've like dabbled like such a tiny, tiny amount in the energetic medicine and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
not much.
I just
Have
did
you?
I did a Reiki massage and I was like, was the table heated? Like the guy passed out twice and he stood up and I go, was that table heated? And I go, my butt's on fire. And he's like, no, it's not. It's not heated at all. And I was like, oh, that was crazy. It was crazy. You should try. It's amazing. I should take you.
Interesting.
You need it. You need alignment. Did you have questions for?
All
Yeah. This one's a little spitfire.
right.
Go for it, Arzan.
Have you ever got an injury and or fell after a dunk?
Yes to both. So one time I tried doing a between the legs dunk over a car, and it did
Oh,
not go
wait, can
very
you say it
good.
again?
One time I tried doing a between the legs dunk over a car, and it did not end well. I hit my head on the ground pretty hard, and I got knocked out. So that was one injury. Another time I tried doing a dunk over a car, and I fell and hurt my wrist. My wrist is still a bit messed up from it, but one of them uh, was just my knee. Right, when you do that much jumping, it obviously can be hard on the knees. It took me a long time to figure out how to actually help it. It took me like a year and a half, but now we're all good.
So that didn't stop you? The injury didn't stop you? The knee injury?
No, of course not. I know there's plenty of answers out there for, therapy. And luckily for me, I have like a really big interest in how like body works, and physio and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of just, became a bit relentless with how all the research I would do and stuff like that. It's kind of fascinating how much stuff doesn't work sometimes. You know what I mean? So anyways, I was lucky enough to eventually meet the best people in the world for attendance in Australia, most updated research, along with I met a new mentor of mine along the way too, who is, I've never met somebody like him ever. And so the combination of those two, plus, my own efforts and learning about this stuff, helped me out a lot.
What do you think qualifies that person to be like for you to say they're the best? I'm just interested because I like to do a trainer highlight every week.
For sure. So I guess it's just that there's not that much research, like proper research on tendons. And they're just kind of like two of the people that are more at the forefront of it, that have been in it for a very long time, actually studying it for real, and not just kind of like making assumptions. That was one of the most cool things about meeting them, is I asked them so many questions, and I've had this experience with other people who are known as like the best in their field too. It's like they say I don't know a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Whereas you look at other people in other fields who are much less educated and say, oh, it's because of this, it's because of this. And meanwhile, all the best people are saying, we don't know that yet.
Right.
That was fascinating to me. But yeah, no, it's just one of those things, that they're kind of known as some of the top people for that.
We watched one of your interviews. It was like, isn't that one of the Socrates theories, is like, you have to engage with what you don't know versus like, you have to just accept that you don't know as many things. Didn't you say that?
Yeah. A wise man knows he knows nothing.
Yes. Did you have any other questions?
Who is your hero?
Oh, that's a good question.
Good question. I mean, the safe bet is always going to be my dad,
Aw, that's so nice.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's done so much for me. It's unbelievable. Then I grew up, having Michael Jordan as my hero. But the more as time goes on, I don't really see, especially because I've got to meet a lot of my idols in dunking, right? It's kind of changed my perspective, and I don't necessarily see people as like these like heroic figures so much anymore. I think everybody has hero qualities, right? But I'm doing my best to be my own hero.
That's amazing. You've got pretty deep in the past few years, because I feel like we watched a bunch of your interviews from 2016, 2000 and before. I was like, oh, you've done some really inner work here.
I've definitely changed a lot for sure. And I mean, that's the idea anyways.
I know, you're supposed to be evolving.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are both Tauruses, I heard.
Oh,
happy
nice.
Birthday. Happy recent.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, you too. How old are you?
Are you in Canada?
Yeah, I'm in Canada.
You're in Canada now. Do you live there all the time? Or do you have a place in the States? Seems like you're
I don't have a place
a
in the States. Yeah, I end up moving a lot, but or moving around anyways. Let's say I'll go hang out with some friends in the States, or my parents just bought a condo in Florida, so I'll just go hang out there sometimes.
Nice.
Like I don't need to work anywhere, like it doesn't matter where I am, kind of thing. So
how was the pandemic for you?
Terrible. Well, that's actually not true. It was amazing in other senses, but so it was great for a few reasons. But first, I mean, it was bad just financially, because most of my income came from doing actual like physical shows in person.
Oh yeah.
Right. So my income just like crashed, but it was great because it forced me to look into other avenues of making money. Because before that, I was kind of in a spot where I was like, oh, as long as I make enough money to be comfortable like dunking, I'm happy, And I had this idea before about how wanting more money was like a bad thing, even though, here I am working for it all the time. And then coming to the realization again.
It's a bad thing?
No, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think I used to think that making money was is almost like a noble thing to not care that much about money, But now I realize, again, through all the readings that I've been doing, is that money is just kind of an amplifier. If you're a good person, you're going to do more good things with it. That's, if you're a bad person, you can do more bad things with it.
Right.
So anyways, I eventually started caring about money more, and basically focused on making money through social media, basically stuff where I didn't have to travel anywhere. So, and then YouTube as well. So basically when I came out of COVID, I'm coming out very, very strong because now I'm doing shows in person and also all the stuff from online. And it's been very great. Plus I got to do, whenever I do a lot of shows, I have to stop like my heavy lifting. I have to come out of a certain phase. So I'm jumping my highest. And there's finally a time where there was none of that. So I could just get like my strongest that I've ever been, which is really cool.
What is your training like? Do you lift?
Yeah, I lift a lot for sure. Yeah.
How do you do like a strength phase, an explosive phase? How many times do you fit in HIIT or post activation potentiation, any of that stuff?
So basically, mostly jumping, or no, I shouldn't say obviously, but I'm jumping twice a week and also lifting legs once twice a week. And I'm basically just trying to get strong, right? So yes, I might do a small phase of hypertrophy, then go into some strength and just get my numbers up basically, right? So I'm mostly doing the two main lifts have always been squats and deadlifts, then, add in other stuff like lunges, hip thrusts, or whatever it is. And then I'll move into a power phase, right? So I'm just moving the weights faster, less reps, more sets. So usually like power cleans, snatches, jump squats, that kind of stuff.
He just started doing weights.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
Shoulder presses today. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's the other thing too. I've been doing more upper body recently, especially because I like having the ability to move the ball really fast, right? And more upper body. As long as I'm staying like relatively light, trying to stay under 180, then at least I'm getting my hops up still. Do
you have to worry about you're becoming too muscular for like your scorpion move that you have? And
luckily no, because since I was a kid, the reason why I have such a monster arm swing, like even on my approach and my jump, my arm swing comes up like super high. So you can think of it as like, I'm constantly doing PNF stretching every single time. My arm goes back, I do contraction at that range of motion. So because I jump so much and I never stop jumping, I'm never going to lose that. It's always that flexibility in my arms will always stay there. If I ever stop jumping, then yeah, it'll start disappearing. But because I always jump, it's like my body will get tuned like specifically for jumping. And I know you mentioned HIIT training too. I don't do any sort of cardio like at all. Because
you do cardio all day long, 9 hours, 3 to 9 hours a day.
It's not though. It's it's a different kind of thing. I wouldn't do that anymore because it's a really bad idea if I want to jump higher. Ideally, I would just jump an hour, which is like impossible for me because I love it too much and I go for longer. But the difference between fast twitch and slow twitch muscles, right?
Yes.
So I am like maxing out how many fibers I can turn into fast twitch muscles. So if I do anything that's kind of endurance, not completely anything, but if I go, let's say to some kind of festival where I'm walking around a lot, or I go to another country and I have friends bringing me walking everywhere, I will actually noticeably lose vertical because it's slowly turning some of my fast twitch into slow twitch. At least that's my theory. I don't know if that's why, but that's what happens every single time I try. So. No cardio for me. I am actually you can't even ask me to do 5-minute run. I will die. Yeah.
Yep, you feel the same way, right? Do you have any advice for anybody that wants to just start balling? Maybe get a trainer that knows how to throw.
My advice when it comes to anything to do with sports, especially for younger people, is just to play a bunch of different sports that like you enjoy, because I think that was one of my advantages with dunking over other people, is that I am very, very good at adapting to anything it is I need to do. I've created like almost 250 new dunks now, and the next closest person might be at like 40 or 50, but the reason why I'm able to adapt and like change my body's movements so easily is because I have a big history of playing so many different sports, whereas a lot of the other guys don't. And I even heard this from a Chinese Olympic coach for like javelin. He says he hates it when he gets like this prodigy kid who only did javelin his whole life, because whenever he gets him, he has to like break down his habits, right? Because he's got like these habits that he can't change. He's got to break his habits down for like a year or two, and then he could start reintroducing like small changes. But if you get somebody that played a bunch of sports and did javelin, they can adapt like that, right? So I think be able to play multiple sports and just have fun for the beginning.
Have you ever been afraid of anything?
Yeah. One of my biggest things was so I was supposed to go skydiving. I don't know, like 7 years ago now, and I ended up bailing, and I just hate that idea that I committed something and I failed, and it kind of haunts me for a bit. So I just, when I turned 30, that's when I decided to go skydiving and get it out of my system. And yeah, it was very, very cool to see what happened after that skydiving thing. Like a noticeable thing where any small amount of fear I would feel after that was like, oh, but I jumped out of a plane, so I'm fine. You know what I mean? Like I did my biggest fear already, so I'm good. So it's very easy to like overcome those obstacles. It's cool.
So where did you jump? Where'd you go?
So I just did it in Toronto.
Toronto. Okay.
Yeah.
And I heard you talk about mindset a little bit. So he's got some fear. So I don't mean to share this with you, but sometimes he has some fear of falling. So how can you give him some advice on how to like change that mentality, maybe?
Well, I'm a big fan of just like progression based on where you are. I think people really, everybody knows about progression, but I take it super seriously, right? So it was easier for me to jump out of a plane because I spend a lot of time doing small things that scare me all the time, because I'm obsessed with being as free of a person as possible. I like to do what I want whenever I want, kind of thing, and have no restrictions. And anytime you stop something because it scares you, you're less free now, right? So I like the idea of just like it increases your range of like how free you are, basically. So let's say polar plunges, right? Like I'll be driving on my way home, like during the winter, and I'll have a thought like, oh, like I should go polar plunging on the way home or whatever. Like it's right there.
On the way
I'm
home.
like, yeah. Now I'm like, but I don't really want to. And it's like, no, I thought about it. Now I have to do it. So then I'll get out of the car, go do it.
Hold on a second. Do you know what a polar plunge is? Do you want to explain what a polar plunge is?
Sure. It'll just be, in the middle of winter, there'd be like ice on the water too, and you just go in the water. It's very.
I know. We're in Texas right now, so it's like 110 degrees. So we're not.
That's funny.
Okay, so you just decide to go, and then you just go.
Yeah. So like that's just like an example, but
are you Wim Hof breathing before you go in?
No, I just
walk in.
Kind of go in. Yeah.
Just
so
all 620, I just heading on into
100%.
Perfect.
But the thing is, I'll have like in me like times where I have to say I'm in the shower and I'll just crank it all the way cold. Also, our water gets cold in where you guys are too. But I'll do like cold showers or just small steps along the way. Like let's say you catch me at a time where like let's say for some reason there's like a month where I'm in a rut. I'm gonna tell myself to feel really good if I manage to do like a cold shower for 5 seconds. Okay.
It's like a small victory.
A small victory. It's about like every day you want to cast votes for who you want to become, right? And you really have to feel those victories every single time.
I'm gonna start hosing you down with cold water.
You're running away. Funny.
Do you have other questions?
No.
No, that's it?
Yeah.
You're done? Okay. He wrote some good questions now.
Do you have any more questions?
No, you're good?
Yeah.
Okay. You crushed it, Arezan. You did great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Where,
Yeah,
okay,
sorry,
wait.
that's probably
No, you're good. I want to, you should do like step by steps on how you do each of your dunks. I was just thinking about like, you should do a Patreon with that stuff. Like have people subscribe to that. People would do it. I
No,
would
I
do
know.
it. And I'm 5'3", you know?
That's fine. No, that's actually the plan. I'll be posting on that probably on YouTube soon. But probably after the summer though. My summer's gonna be super busy, but yeah, that is the plan for sure.
What can people expect from your summer? Is it anything that's public that people can watch or be a part of?
I was thinking about actually doing that. I usually never like, you know how some like artists like DJs or musicians will have like their schedule or whatever. I've never done that before, but maybe I should do that. But
You should.
although most things are usually kind of last minute, but still I should like put that in my link tree or whatever.
That would make you committed to something. It feels tough for you.
Yeah, well, no, that is true, but I should, especially my mindset being, on making more money so I can, use that money to achieve my goals. I have no problem with that stuff when it comes to doing like a
That's
dunking
all part of
commitment
it.
as a job, right? That's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay, so do you have anything that you are like, this is for sure what I'm going to be doing, or should people just follow you on social media and just wait till you make those announcements?
Yeah, probably follow me on social media. I'm super disorganized, and my manager has like all the dates and stuff like that, so I can't remember the days. I'll try and think. So, dunk camp is something we'll be doing.
You run a
June
dunk
27th.
camp?
I don't run it, but I'm part of it. It's in Utah.
Cool.
It's super cool. It's like the funnest thing in the world. It's so cool. Yeah, that's June 27th to June 30th. And I'm supposed to go in Brazil. I'll be in Florida in a couple weeks, I think. I
That's
don't
just
know.
at the parents' condo.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, then we'll just make sure to tag you on our social media when we post this, and then people can go to your site. And do you have a site? Do you have a website? We're only subscribers
Not
for
really.
YouTube and Instagram.
Yeah, I just use YouTube, Instagram, TikTok mostly, and that's pretty much it.
I trained the media coach, and he told me that you don't need to have, he's like, all you need now is TikTok, Twitch, and Instagram. He's like, that's where everybody's putting the money. I was like, thank goodness, because I don't want to have anything else.
Yeah, no, honestly, just having the link tree thing where you have just like, you click the link and you can go to multiple websites from there.
So much easier.
Mhm.
Okay, well, I'm gonna pray that you have a super boastful social life very soon. And
Thanks.
thank you so much for taking the time. I super appreciate it.
Of course, yeah. Again, sorry, it was kind of probably not what you expected, but I can't help it.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna look totally different. No, I'm just kidding.
All right.
No, I was kidding. Just kidding. All right, thank you so much.
All right, no problem. Take care.
Bye,
Bye.
Jordan. Say bye.
Bye.
See you.